Hi, it's David from Life with Parkinsons. If you're new here, welcome. I hope you'll consider subscribing. For everybody else, thank you for coming back and watching another episode. I'm just here in my backyard this morning having my cup of coffee, sitting here with my bird kiwi, and just thinking, I need to refilm this episode. I need to refilm it from the bottom up, just because it was missing a whole bunch of information that I thought of after when I filmed it. And also, I don't think filming it when I'm stressed out is probably the best thing. I think being able to objectively talk about my stress and share it with you guys is going to be a lot more helpful. So let's talk about stress. One of the big things that I've noticed over time with Parkinson's is the way my body deals with stress has changed dramatically over time. Like before I was diagnosed and even pre-diagnosis, I was noticing the change. But I know I'm not even 50 yet, but when I was much younger, right, I could pile the stress on. I could take this on, I could take this on, I could take this on, I could take this on. And then I could stay up till midnight watching movies and go straight to sleep, no problem at all. And you might hear the birds in the background and my bird Kiwi, because she likes to sit out here as well in the morning and have her morning treats and sometimes scream at the birds. Right, Kiwi? Oh. But now that reality is gone. Now when I, not on purpose, usually inadvertently, put stress on my body, it turns into a whole body experience. And I have to be careful what I let my mind think about when I'm off. Because when I'm off, everything is off about me, even how I deal with stress. So I kind of have to be like my first grade teacher with her big yardstick on the desk, whack, whack, whack. I can only let my mind think about certain things when I'm off, or it could turn into a big off, a dramatic off that's going to require rescue medication. The right hand will come up and it'll stay there, and I won't be even able to pull it down. My face will like lock up, and I call it lockjaw. Oh, it's so painful. And then my right leg will lock up and I'll have some leg lock and I won't be able to walk at all. The difference between when I was younger is dramatically different. Ah, the good old days. Can't we just bring them back? Unfortunately, we can't. I remember reading a book and I don't remember what book it was. And this wasn't the title, but one of the thoughts in the book was that men's minds are waffles, women's minds are spaghetti. But I would like to add to that Parkinson's minds are like a city where a tornado's gone through and everything's just been thrown every which way. It's like an unorganized scrapyard. Nothing is in the right place. So when I was a younger man, I could just compartmentalize everything in my little bits of waffles. And when I needed to access something, I would just open the door, go in there, sort it out, come back out, and close the door. But now with my unorganized scrapyard, I don't know where anything is. It just makes me think about the good old days, and it would be nice to be able to just work through that stress in an orderly fashion. And that's what I try to do now. Just work through the stress, take one problem, break it down into little steps, and just solve it one little step at a time. Even though a long time ago it would just take me one big step, even breaking it down into 3 or 4 things at a time just makes it more manageable. A lot of this episode relates to the last 13 months of my life, losing my son, and I've spent a lot of time on the couch mourning his loss, and that's not a bad thing. I realize that's quite normal. You got to work through the emotions, work through the sadness, work through the wishing he was still here, but he's not. Unfortunately, my exercise routine has gone down, my fitness has gone down. Even though I've tried to keep it up different ways, it's just, for those of you who have been through major losses, I know you understand, and we've all been through loss. Any one of us with Parkinson's has lost something significantly in our lives. So I think everybody watching this video will understand what I'm going to say in at least some fashion. What was I going to say? What was I going to say? I spent too much time introducing the question. What I meant to say is that you're only ready to move on when you're ready to move on. Like there's no timer, there's no calendar. Like I'm ready to move on and start living again. And I know I have to leave those memories in the past and make new experiences. But you're only ready when you're ready. Right? We all process the sense of loss differently. And now I'm finally ready to move on. It doesn't mean I don't miss him anymore. It doesn't mean that I wish all those feelings are still true, but I'm able to move on, at least uncomfortably, with my life. I know I've given up a lot of ground due to my lack of fitness and exercising, but I've got plans to take that back. I've got all sorts of exercise stuff I'm going to do, and I'm not going to push myself so hard that I pull a muscle strain. A lot of my exercise will be on my elliptical trainer, so it'll be a very low impact, but I'll get lots of cardio out of it. So that's what I wanted to say, is that we're only ready to move on when we're ready. It's never the same for two people. Another thing that's really changed for me is that I can't hide how I feel. Like, yeah, many of us with Parkinson's have that mask face that nobody can tell if you're happy or sad. But when I get stressed, that is the one thing that defeats the mask and shows itself on the outside of my body. And there's no way to change that. I just have to carry on, use my coping mechanisms, and divide the stressful thought into different phases and whack it out of my mind with that yardstick when I'm off. One way I deal with stress is that I just have to say no to people sometimes. I know that my body can only handle so much, and my brain, of course, too. I remember when the kids were growing up, and they would worry about things, and I've always kind of been a worrier as well. But I always tell them 90% of the things you worry about never actually even happen, and the ones that do usually aren't even as bad as you can imagine it. So if you can imagine something so bad, imagine if that worry doesn't happen, and what's the good that could come out of it if it doesn't happen. Such good advice that I need to apply to my life a little bit more. I just want to thank you for watching and supporting this channel. Let's continue to take this journey together. And what are your thoughts? Do you have any questions, comments, or thoughts on stress and Parkinson's? Just leave them in the comments below, and everybody will chip in as well as myself. Thank you. Have a good day. I'll see you next time. Goodbye. Let's talk about stress, baby. Let's talk about you and me. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things that can be. Let's talk about stress. Woo! Let's talk about stress.